Steve Price Show. Call now and have your say. 131-873.
Well, there are calls now for, as I said at the beginning of the program, for a national rollout of this cashless welfare card. How it works under the system, 20% of a welfare recipient's payment goes into the bank account. The other 80 is quarantined on a debit card. It can only be used to pay for things, bills or shop at the supermarket. You cannot buy alcohol or gamble or withdraw cash. It applies to people on Newstart, not people on the pension. It's being trialled in Hervey Bay and Bundaberg in Queensland, as I mentioned. Linda Burney, and I'll speak to Senator Anne Ruston in a moment, Federal Minister for Social Services, but Linda Burney, the shadow in that portfolio, she doesn't agree that this card is actually going to work.
This card does not create a single job. We know that it is costing $160 million across the nation to implement this very punitive program.
Senator Ruston joins me on the line. Senator, thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Obviously, Labor are no fans.
Well, no, and what I'd say is that we just need to look at the data, and, Linda made the comment that, it doesn't create a single job. What it is trying to make sure that people have got the resilience and the wherewithal to be able to manage their lives, manage their budget, so they're in a better position to be able to go out and get a job. It isn't a job-creating tool. It's actually a personal development, financial resilience, capability and literacy tool. So I think, we need to have a look at the results. Certainly the results up here in Bundaberg and Hervey Bay, where I am at the moment, are showing very, very positive signs early on. So I think we probably should wait until we see the full results of this before we go out and say it's not working.
Number of people on welfare in Bundaberg dropped by 9%, and I think that equates to about 502 people. My only question about that, Senator, would be, do we know whether people simply moved out of Bundaberg and Hervey Bay because they didn't want to live under this system with that card?
Well, look, one of the things that people need to realise is that you can't just move out of the area and get off the card. If you're on the card, you're on the card. And I've just been speaking to some really lovely young people who are on the card here in Hervey Bay. Many of them said that they weren't particularly keen about going onto the card, but they're actually very positive about the results and the benefits that it's been providing to them and their families since they've gone on there. So I think, as time goes by and people realise that this is not a punitive measure, the way the Shadow Minister was suggesting it is, it's actually a tool, it's a benefit tool. And as people start getting used to it and realise the benefits, they're actually out there, the ones singing the praises. So firstly, people can't leave the region and get off it. If people chose to leave the region because they didn't want to go on it, well, that's entirely up to them. But certainly we're very positive about the results so far. And we're really looking forward to working with the communities to see if we can improve what we've got on the ground so that it actually ends up being the benefit that we think it really can be.
So in that region, it's not an opt-in. You are automatically, if you receive Newstart, you automatically fall under this cashless welfare card system. Is that right?
If you're under the age of 35, so we trialled it for the younger cohort. So that in the Hervey Bay Bundaberg region, if you're under 35 and on a working age payment, you are on the cashless debit card.
And you stay on that for the entire time you're on Newstart payments, and then obviously clearly when you get a job, you just go to a normal salary.
Absolutely. So so it's planned that you'll stay on it. But at this stage, I'd say it's capped, age capped at 35. So if you're over 35, you aren't on it. But in other areas around the country, we have people who are older than that. So we've trialled it across 4 trial areas, and we're planning on, subject to legislation, rolling out the cards for all people on the basics cards in the Northern Territory and the Cape sometime next year.
So when you say all the people in the Northern Territory and the Cape, is that aimed at our Indigenous population?
Not at all. It's just people that are currently on the basics card. So those people that have, for the last, I think it's up to 10 years, been on the basics card, we'll be transitioning them over to the cashless debit card because it's more user-friendly, and the fact that there's so many more outlets that are able to, people have better access through using the cashless debit card than they were on the basics card. So we think it's just going to be, of greater benefit. And as technology is improving, and we've been working with the banks and with the retailers and with FPOS to make sure that it's a seamless process. So it's no different than you and I going into any shop that has this facility and using our debit card.
So there are ways to rort this, I presume, if you really wanted to.
Look, there will always be people that work out how to do a workaround so that they don't have to do this. But
I mean, you can go and do a supermarket shop, for example, Senator, and then sell those grocery items to someone who's not on the card, get the cash, and then go and buy alcohol.
Yeah, well, obviously that's very inventive. Maybe these people should be applying the same sort of ingenuity into, to doing things that are going to be more productive for their lives. But there will always be workarounds. There always has been since time began. But what we're saying is we're trying to convince people, and many of them we have convinced, that this is actually really useful, really valuable, making a difference to their life, and they're not seeking to make workarounds. And I'd encourage those people that are trying to come up with workarounds, have a think about the benefit this card can actually provide to your life.
So the numbers that you mentioned that we need to deal with, in Bundaberg, people on welfare payments dropped by 8.7%, or 502 people, to 5,277 in a year, while in Hervey Bay, 10% drop to 3,482. Do we know of any of those people who have actually gone and got work?
Well, we believe that many of them have. In fact, I was talking to one of the services providers this morning, and they're going to provide me with the details. But, we're very encouraged by the number of people that have been gone into employment and have come off the card. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the breakdown of the statistics, because obviously that information is being collected, because it's really important for us to know that in making any future decisions.
The youth unemployment numbers are even better, dropped from 19.8% to 18.5%, still far too high.
Oh, look, it's terribly, terribly much too high. We have seen over the 12-month period an even more significant drop from that. At one stage, the unemployment figures in the Wide Bay area were up around the 28% mark. So that is a significant drop on that. But yes, it is too high, but the trajectory is downward, and it is absolutely our intention to keep working with, not just with the CDC, the cashless debit card, but with a whole heap of other programs to target those people that need the assistance so they can get off unemployment and get into a job and be able to live the full life that we all want to be able to live. Yeah,
it's very strange, because every time we talk about the rate of unemployment on this program, we get calls from employers who can't find people to come and do the jobs they need, particularly in regional Australia. There's just a shortage of skilled workers that people need to actually keep their businesses running.
Yeah, well, I come from a regional community in South Australia, and certainly, seasonal work is a real challenge for us to get people to work. But what idea I met with the working group this morning, talked to them about what are the additional things that we need to be providing as a government to make sure that not only do we have the jobs, which you say, we've got them, but create the pathways for people to get into the jobs, work out what are the barriers that are stopping people from getting those jobs, and making sure that we do everything we can to do that, because, equally we have a responsibility of government to employers to make sure that they've got the people that can actually run their businesses. So, it's a big task, but we will certainly be throwing everything we can at making sure we get that unemployment number down, because that means more people in work and more of your businesses with people working in them.
Senator, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
That's Senator Anne Ruston.
The Rise Above 2020 convoy hits the streets of Queanbeyan and Canberra in the new year. Be a part of Convoy by placing your name or business logo on the supporter truck. Head to 2cc.net.au and click on the Rise Above link to get your name, business, or a memorial message on the supporter truck. Spots are limited, so don't miss out.